All right, everybody, welcome to the Street Parking Podcast. We've got a fun new series that we're doing with some of our members. And we're able to do this because this year for the 2023 Vault, or I don't know when this is coming out, so maybe I should say next year. Who knows, depending on when this comes out. But for the 2023 Vault, we have 25 members, 5 at a time, who are coming to do the workouts with us. And this week here, as of this recording, we've got our first group. And today I'm sitting down with Rich Mogavero. I asked him right before we started how to say his name. Rich is a super well-known street parking member, just past your 2-year mark of membership, known as Zero Proof Athlete on Instagram, posts a lot. You've probably seen his stuff if you follow the hashtag street parking. Super active member of the community, dad, and works in nuclear power, which to me sounds really smart and important. So maybe we'll ask him if that's true or not. But if somebody tells me, yeah, not a big deal, I work in nuclear power, then that sounds awesome. Or you could be like Homer from The Simpsons and just sitting there pushing a button all day long. Who knows? So before we get into, I want to talk to you about your story. I want to find out more about your job and how you found street parking and what Zero Proof Athlete is all about and all that stuff. But before that, we'll do a few warm-up questions just to get comfortable, okay? So my first question is coffee or tea?
Definitely coffee.
What kind? Do you have like a brand?
Not Colombian.
Okay, that's probably good. Do you have like a coffee order? If you go to a coffee shop, do you have are you a latte person? Are you a cappuccino person? Black coffee?
Definitely black.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it black.
Okay, good. I mean, we try to get our members to drink black coffee a lot of times, so there you go. If you were gonna have a tasty meal, I don't like to call it a cheat meal because that makes it seem like something bad. But if you're going for a tasty meal, do you go breakfast or dinner?
Definitely dinner.
Okay, what kind of a meal would you go for?
If I have my pick.
Yeah, just like last meal of your life or something like that.
Meat.
Just meat and black coffee.
We can totally skip the carbs.
No mashed potatoes, no rolls, nothing like that.
Just steak. If it's the last thing, we're just getting.
How is it cooked?
Steak. Like medium, even maybe a little bit rare.
Okay.
You know?
I mean, you're going to die anyways in this scenario.
That's right. Forget it. We're going for the gold and lots of butter on it. We're cooking.
What about the blue cheese on it or anything like that? Do you go blue cheese crumbles, bacon, anything?
I'm not mad at it, but I would definitely say butter over blue cheese for sure.
Okay. And you live near Washington, D.C.
That's right.
Do you have a steak place near you that you go to? That's your go-to for that kind of thing?
No, I make a lot at home. So
okay.
I'm like our cook. My wife's the baker, so I cook a lot.
At our house. And honestly, we don't go to a lot of steakhouses and stuff either because Julian cook, when it comes to that sort of stuff, it's always better. Mm-hmm. You can make it exactly how you want it. Okay. Marvel or DC? Or are you not into superhero stuff?
6 in one, half dozen the other. My son is totally into it.
Okay, your son is 11. His name is Vinny.
That's right.
How would he answer that? Do you know?
So, yeah, he is really into more of the Batman side of the house.
Okay.
But right now he's shifted into just straight up wrestling, like WWE wrestling. That's
current?
Yeah, so that's his thing. So, don't ask me to name all of the people, but he is totally into it right now.
I might have a little in for a wrestler that he would definitely know if he's into wrestling right now, that we could try to get a cool signature from or something. You mentioned to me when I asked you some questions before we started that you read a lot.
Yeah.
What's your most recent book or what are you reading right now?
So right now, I finished Atomic Habits maybe a year and a half ago.
Was that your first time reading it?
No, it was my second time.
Okay.
I led a book club. It was a little bit nerdy, but I led a book club. We walked through and dissected it. Had a lot of fun with that. The Credibility Code.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've had that one.
And right now, I'm reading Invisible Influence.
You you told me you like leadership type books.
Yeah, I do like that a lot. I like to take the leadership books and try to integrate it into regular everyday living.
I mean, you're a parent, so
it's really helpful, to apply it.
I have one that I just started that just came out that I think you would like is Unreasonable Hospitality. and I'll show it to you after we're done. But that's the one I'm into right now. But I gotta check out yours as well. I didn't have this question prepared, but when we were waiting to get started, I felt like I needed to add it because we were talking about it. What is ranch dressing?
That is, so.
To you, not to everyone, to you.
So to me, right, it's not so much a condiment, right? It's a group of street parkers that we're all going to Fitness Freedom together, and we were saying, okay, let's all kind of meet up, but maybe we need to have a matching outfit. And
of
then
course. As you do,
somebody
as adults.
put it to as adults, right? As any like-minded adult would think, right? Said, well, we should call our group Ranch Dressing. And so it's stuck from then on.
How many people were part of this group?
Definitely over 20, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even close to 30.
It was like Woodstock over there.
It really was, right? And so, yeah, great group of people. And I'd say almost all of us still kind of message back and forth on the regular, daily.
On Fridays, do you all wear the same outfit or something?
No, but on Tuesdays and Wednesdays
was totally
we
joking.
do. So we do, or Wednesday and Thursdays we do.
Okay.
We do jorts on Wednesday, and
Who chooses what you guys are gonna wear?
It's the same thing every time.
Oh,
So
okay,
we wear
okay.
jorts
That's
on
easier.
Wednesday, and then we wear silkies on Thursdays.
I got a pair of the silkies while we were there.
They're gold. I would wear silkies every day.
Maybe I should wear silkies on Thursdays.
There you go.
With you guys. I don't know if I can do the jorts. All right, so you already did your vault workout.
Yes.
We cannot tell the people what it is because this is definitely going to come out before your vault workout does, I think. So without revealing at all what it was, if you could describe it in one word, your experience with it, not necessarily just the workout, but just your experience yesterday when you filmed it, what would the one word be?
Fire.
Fire.
Yeah.
People will be excited.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and it is intense.
It was intense. I got to watch it. You guys did great. All right, so as I mentioned, you live outside of DC with your son, Vinny. You're super consistent and motivated. And you post a lot of your workouts, so a lot of people have probably seen you, like I said. But you work out super early in the morning. Tell me a little bit about your daily schedule.
Yeah, so when I go into the office a few times a week. And when I do, I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving into the office to get there for 6. My commute's kind of long. It involves almost plain.
3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm on the road by about 4.
So is that you wake up at 3 so that you can?
So that, one, sometimes I work out in the morning.
Okay.
Sometimes I just get on the road and get to work so that I could get out of work before, 5 or 6 at night and home, and then fitness at night. So it's either I work out early or I work out at the end of the day.
What would you think? How do you figure out when you're going to work out? And is there like a specific schedule, or what's the ratio of super early morning versus post-workout? Or post-work?
Super early is when I get to work from home.
Okay.
That works out the best because when I wake up early at home, I could get my workout done, start work, stop. Then my wife and I sort of plan our day about getting our son ready for school, getting Vin to school, coming back, picking up, the day is going to start then. So when I work from home, a lot of times it's easier just to get it done in the morning.
Okay.
When I go to the office, a lot of times it's easier to get it done in the evening.
How is it different physically and mentally to work out super early in the morning versus after a long day of work? Which would you say is more challenging for you, and how are they different?
So for me, it's easier to work out in the morning. The difference is I work out better on an empty stomach.
Okay.
I'm a morning person.
Oh,
by the time the afternoon happens, there are so many opportunities for excuses to come in to say, there's 1,000 other things you can do right now.
100%.
And the one thing you could take off the table is this big time-consuming fitness thing.
Uh-huh.
And the beauty of street parking is it doesn't have to be a really big chunk of time.
Right.
It could be a very effective small chunk of time. And that's where my mindset totally changed with using street parking. So at the end of the day, that was, commuting and work and everything, and it was 14 hours long. I'm in between dinner. I get an opportunity to fitness for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. A little bit of cool down, warm up here and there, but it's done. And that's the beauty of it, for real. That's super, super helpful.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I work out at the end of the day because that's what's working for our current kid schedule, basically. But there is always something that can come up that can throw it off. You might get stuck in traffic and now your whole schedule's changed. Or you might come home and your kid is, needs something from you, where if you would have done it early in the morning, he still would have been asleep. And so there's so much that can throw it off that it's almost like riskier to work out in the afternoon. I mean, I am not at a point where because of how much I'm waking up in the middle of the night with our still baby, 3 a.m. just wouldn't happen for me. But I can see how morning you're much less likely to miss once you get into the habit of it. How long have you been working out that early in the morning? Like, how did you develop that 3 a.m. wake up? Because that's aggressive.
So it helps me. I've been doing that for almost close to 17 years.
Oh, okay. So you were doing it even before kids.
I used to work shift work before moving to DC. So I was used to, my wife and I both were used to getting up really early, which then when you have kids, they learn to get up really early at the same time.
They just get up whenever they want.
Yeah, for sure. But it's easy now if I wanted to sleep in on days where I'm working from home. But you know that you're eating into that time that later on it's going to make it so much harder to go work out or go do anything. It makes the day so much more challenging because, like you said, it throws variables into the mix that you're just not in control of, that are just going to throw the schedule completely off course.
Yeah. One of the things that you have going for you that I think a lot of people struggle with is your wife does street parking too. And so she's obviously going to be supportive, and you're supportive of her. And I know not everybody's in that situation, so you're really lucky that way. Has it always been that way for you guys?
No, my wife always didn't do street parking.
Okay.
But she always was into health and fitness.
Okay, so that's good, yeah.
Right. So I used to run well before street parking.
That's right.
And then I started doing CrossFit with my wife. We started CrossFit together. My wife worked at our local affiliate for the last 5 years. So she would go to work and work out at work.
Okay.
And then I was at home most of the time. I would get to the box when I could. And when COVID came, my son's growing up, there's more sports, many variables. It was just so much easier and efficient for our setup at home to begin doing street parking just as my almost my main fitness program of choice. And so my wife totally gets that part, right?
How do you, so again, like you're very busy. You've got your kid, you've got this commute, you've got work and everything. I think one of the questions or one of the things that people tell us all the time is I'm just not motivated, or I lost motivation, or you've seen it. You've been in our community long enough that you see it on the pages, like after a challenge, people fall off or whatever. 2-part question. Have you ever fallen off? Like you said, you've been kind of holding this schedule for like 17 years. It sounds like you've been active for most of your adult life, at least. Have you ever had a period where you've fallen out of it? And whether that answer is yes or no, how do you stay motivated? And I have a quote from something that you told me earlier, so we'll see if you repeat it, and if not, I'll read it.
Yeah. Fallen off, I haven't fallen off, but I have had periods of time where the fitness was not the priority and health was not the priority.
So what did that look like? How is that different than where you're at now?
That looked like when my wife was pregnant with a baby, and we were both just doing whatever we wanted.
Were you working out less? Were you eating differently?
So
both?
I was doing both of those things, not working out as much and certainly eating horrible, right? Like fast food was the thing. It was just unhealthy. And we both looked at ourselves later on and said, Vin was born. We had to take a good look at ourselves and say, like, he is our primary, thing in our life, and we need to be there for him. So we need to be the healthiest version of ourselves we can be. So we did that, right? And then the staying motivated part is kind of like, I fall under the ready, fire, aim scenario, right? And it's not motivation. I'm not looking for, put on Eye of the Tiger and get pumped up, It's more of, what's the focus? What's the goal? Is it a healthy lifestyle that we're trying to lead? Or is it, I'm going out there to crush this workout today with what does that do for me? I'm not competing against anybody but myself. I'm competing against life. So it's a long game. And so it's a consistency thing. And getting out there just starting. Some days I don't want to start.
Yeah, I feel like that's the hardest part we talk about all the time. Like, just put on your shoes and start warming up and see what happens.
Absolutely.
And almost always, once you're in it, it's the getting out and just starting moving. That's the hardest hurdle for sure.
I agree with you. And if you see my stories, I like to start them out with like a really fun reel sometimes. So like magically get my shoes on to work out.
Yes.
But it's fun, right? It turns it into like a burden of going into the garage and being monotonous and doing the thing. So I'll start the workout. And one thing I think I talked about with you before this was little by little, a little becomes a lot. And that's sort of the mantra, other than ready, fire, aim. Just start doing the thing, and it's going to build up over time. And all of these little life choices we make, like, is this our healthiest version of ourselves we want to be? Yes or no, right? If no, then change something.
Yeah. Not everything all at once.
That's right.
Yeah.
One little thing. And sometimes, like the street parking mantra, more than nothing. And it's out there and getting it done for the day.
Yeah. And there are other people out there waking up at 3 a.m.
For sure.
Making it happen. What you, when we talked about it before, I wrote down this quote, you said, it turns out that motivation isn't there all the time. Some days it is, like Saturdays or Sunday mornings. I love those days. All the other days, I'm squeezing it in after or before work or before kiddo practice. And then you said the ready, fire, aim thing. And if I'm just not feeling like it that day, the thing that I like that you said the most was I don't do too much pre-planning. Like I don't like you're saying, like set up this big expectation for what it's going to be and what it's going to look like and how I'm going to perform. You just go with whatever's happening that day and do the best that you can.
For sure. And for me, that works,
yes.
Other folks, and I know
that are planners,
that love to plan.
Yes.
And, for folks who are in street parking and follow, Facebook or Instagram, folks will put together a great layout for their week. But for me, I'm like, I can't do that. I could, but I know I'll break it.
I think there's a cool balance that you can find. I think you can be like, okay, if everything goes according to plan, this is what I would like to accomplish, but I'm not going to just throw it in the trash and not do anything if something derails it. Like I'll still figure out a way to do something. I might have to do shift one day, or I might have to move a workout that I was really excited about to a different day because that day I ended up not being able to have enough time, or I just actually didn't work out that day. So being flexible in your plan, I think sometimes people are too rigid and it's like, I missed session 2 on Tuesday and now the whole thing's ruined. And it's like, no, like you're saying, like just more than nothing, keep moving. You also said that a couple of tips that I wanted to share with people, that some days or most days you don't run a clock.
That's right.
That's awesome. And I think that's like, especially for somebody who comes from CrossFit, like people really struggle with, I have to know the time and I have to know for sure that I met the goal. And we want people shooting for that stuff, but not if it's going to put them in a position where they don't work out at all because they're like, oh, this is too much pressure and I just can't handle it right now because I had a long day at work, so I'm just not going to work out.
That's right. And those are the tips I give to folks when they message me. They'll send me a message and say, I'm just not feeling it today. And I'll say, don't run a clock. What's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Is it a 15-minute AMRAP and the goal is 10 to 12 rounds? Pick a number. Pick 10 rounds.
I do that all the time. And I don't think people realize how much, because you're really fit and people see you crushing it every day and you've got a lot of equipment and you're, doing it. And so they probably look at you and they're like, oh, I'm just not at that level or whatever. And I think they think the same thing of us that are here in our garage too, but we do that stuff all the time. I'll be like, I don't feel like timing it. The goal's 6 to 8 rounds. I'm just going to do 7 rounds, And sometimes during those, I end up going harder than I would have because I'm like, actually, I feel fine. This is fine. I can do it. I had a workout like that the other day. But like we're saying, it's just getting started.
That's exactly right.
And then you'll figure out how you feel somewhere 5 minutes in.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay, I have to ask you, before I go any further, to tell us a little bit about your job. You work in nuclear power. What does that mean?
Yeah, so...
I mean, I know what nuclear power means, but what do you do exactly?
Yeah, so I work at the Nuclear Energy Institute. So we write policy for all of the commercial nuclear sites in the U.S.
Okay.
Right? So In the broadest sense of the terms, the government, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, they develop the law for the nuclear power generator, the nuclear power plant. And they tell them how or what they need to go do. We're the in-between of, okay, there's the law. We sort of interpret the law of how you would go implement that law. And we do that for the whole industry. And we work both on the policy end of things as well as the technical end of things. And we're member-run organizations similar to street parking. So we have 300 members in 17 countries, and we work both in the US and internationally with research and test reactors, commercial nuclear power generators, nuclear medicine, and everything in between. And I started in nuclear power in 2005, and I came from there and went to DC to help write policy for all the commercial nuke sites.
Do you have to travel a lot since you guys are doing stuff internationally?
I don't travel that much internationally, but I do travel in the domestic US quite a bit.
You end up in hotels a lot. I think I have seen some of your stuff in hotels.
I go through phases where I may be in a hotel 2 to 3 times a month for months on end. And street parking has certainly, shaped how I stayed fit during those times.
Well, street parking was actually made for that, because when we started it, I think we're about to next week hit our anniversary of my very first post that I put on Instagram. But I was pregnant, but I didn't know that I was pregnant. And I had no frame of reference for what it's like to be a parent, which I think a lot of times people associate street parking with parents. That's not at all what it was. I traveled so much that it was how to stay fit when you're traveling as much as I was traveling. That's where the actually idea came from. So I loved seeing you in the hotels and getting it, because you can almost always find a pair of dumbbells. And if not, you've always got the body weight options. But
you could do anything. You could use an ottoman for fitness.
Exactly. I've seen people jumping over, stepping up, everything on their hotel beds and their ottomans and everything. Well, that sounds really cool. Are you like the fit guy on your team?
At work?
Yes. Like, I don't think that people see you and would necessarily like associate you with a nuclear power.
They don't. It's funny because other members have asked, like, what do you do for work? Are you in sales? I see you travel a lot. I'm like, kind of, sort of. But on my team, it's really neat. Like, my direct boss is probably one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And he's one of the best leaders I could have as a mentor. And he actually started CrossFit because when I came on the team, he really liked that I did functional fitness.
Wow.
So, but he just finished hiking the C&O Canal, which is 180 some miles, right? And he did it over a course of a week. So I have really fit people with me at work too.
That's great.
But we recognize that our job is sitting behind a computer most of the days.
I think, and most people are in that situation.
And we look
at sitting in your car to get there and get home.
For sure. We look at each other and say, we got to move. Like, we got to do stuff, get up, walk around.
Yes.
And we do peer check each other at work. It's like, hey, did you move today? Like, go walk.
And you're so much more effective at work, especially it sounds like what you do requires a lot of focus, to just take those breaks and just to have a sharp mind from being physically active. So that's really cool that you have some other people on your team to do that with you. Your Instagram handle is Zero Proof Athlete to represent the fact that you don't drink at all. So Zero Proof. I thought that was really clever.
That's my wife. She came up with it.
Okay. I asked you about what advice you might have for others using fitness as a way to help them if they're on some sort of sobriety journey. Mm-hmm. And you said sobriety is freedom. It's freedom from societal pressures, freedom to mindfully choose our actions, and the freedom to truly feel feelings, which I love. That's hard work. It is hard to feel your own feelings, but we can do hard things. I love that you talked about feeling feelings is hard, because drinking is one way to kind of ignore those things, but there's so many other ways that people do it as well that I think you can look at similar to drinking and being sober. How long have you been on that path? Like, when did you stop drinking or whatever? And what advice do you have to people who are like, because in reality, and maybe, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a sobriety coach or anything like that. But like in general, from what I've seen, whether it's alcohol or something else, you have to replace a behavior with another behavior. And we see in street parking or CrossFit or whatever, we see a lot of former addicts or people who are sober or people who have overcome a bunch of different things, and they replaced whatever they had before with this new healthier thing. Because we're all going to have a thing. We all everybody has a thing. So what advice would you have to people who maybe want to use fitness to help with that?
That was a loaded question. We got to get it up here. So, so I'm on this journey for over 5 years.
Okay.
I like that you said you got to replace it with a thing. And I think what I ran into was this thing, which was alcohol, doesn't really fit into the whole of health and fitness.
It doesn't seem like it fits into how you see yourself as a person.
That's right. It just doesn't. So my wife and I, would talk about it and say, this doesn't make us, right? This doesn't fit into the mold of, are we living our healthiest life? Are we doing the best we can? And so I took that opportunity to say, all right, well, I'm just going to give this up, right? I'm not going to drink, which was really neat because where I say it's kind of freeing, it really is. And now for me, right? Others, I will never shame anybody, right? Totally cool.
This is your story.
Thing, right? This is just me. But I work in DC, right? I work in Washington, DC. Everybody goes out for meetings.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to meet for drinks. We're going to do the thing. It's an identity at times, right? So I looked at it as a really fun challenge at first. How do I meet with people for drinks and not drink? How do you engage in a conversation without loosening up first with a couple of drinks? Personally, I'm an introvert. I've learned to adapt by being social, but it wears me down, right?
Yeah.
And so going on that journey was so freeing to learn a little bit more about who I am, learning about how to feel feelings, which is really hard work. Because if you're sad, you're upset, you're anxious, you're tired, you're hungry, whatever it is, right? You try to replace that with the thing. But most folks will say, like, I need a drink, it's Friday, blah, blah, blah. Well, what if I just felt that? What if I took that feeling and was very mindful with it and took it to the next level? What does that feel like? What is that?
Yeah.
So for folks who are kind of on this journey, one advice point, I think, would be to decide your intent, right? What's your motive? Why do you want to do it? Have a focused goal as to your why. I think if it's just, I'm going to go do it, you could probably go through the I'm just going to go do it thing for a little while, almost faking it till you make it and hope your why shows up. Totally cool. If you just know that I've got to do this and I don't know my bigger why, totally cool. But try to identify why, right? And then try to tie that why to some milestones. And I think, one thing with street parking, you can tie it to your fitness goals.
Right.
Your 75, workouts. Try a week and then say, you know what, I'm going to try to hit 75. I'm going to try to hit 365. I'm going to try to hit 1,000. Is it over at 1,000? No. I mean, you keep going but then it's part of you.
No, it's part of, if you get to 1,000 workouts, it's a part of.
That's right.
You, just who you are.
And you're just doing it just like fitness.
Yes.
You don't need the motivation. You don't need the inspirational quotes. It's just what I do now.
And with both, we don't drink either. And with both the sobriety or with healthy habits, any of them, it could be fitness or the way you eat or whatever. I do think that it's freeing because you've already made the decision. So it's not like, well, I'm only going to drink sometimes. And then it's like, well, what's sometimes? And now every time the opportunity arises, you're deciding in that moment, is this a sometimes? And I think, we talk about fitness a lot like that, where it's like, where it's just brushing your teeth. You don't decide every day to brush your teeth. It's just part of what the decision's already been made. How much effort you put into it might vary, but like, it's not a decision that needs to be made, and living a healthy lifestyle isn't a decision that needs to be made. If anything, you decide sometimes to have pizza, you decide sometimes to go off the course, but you're not deciding all day, every day, to stay on course. So that's really cool. And I think that's really helpful. And I love your, praise to your wife for the Instagram handle, because I think it's really clever. The other thing, you're a dad, and one group that you said that you would love to help inspire on this podcast episode is other parents, specifically fathers, maybe. And what would you say about, because you gave me some stuff, but on your mind right now, like, what is it that you think parents need to hear, or what has helped you as a parent to live a healthy lifestyle? Because it is really hard.
It is. It is really hard. Parenting is really freaking hard. It just is, right?
Yes.
You're now living for somebody else other than yourself. So it's very easy, and I think we talked about before, to take the fitness thing or healthy eating thing out of the equation, because you have to spend time doing other things, or you get to spend time doing other things with your family. But, for dads, moms, we're working. Everybody's out there working. Everybody has responsibilities. Everybody has to do something. But if we're not healthy, are we doing the best we can for our family? Are we going to be there for our family when they need us? One of my favorite things is playing with my son, right? Going out, playing football, playing basketball, running in the yard, going, jumping on the trampoline with him, working out in the garage with him. And if I can't, those are memories. Those are core memories for him. And, for all the parents, if we can't do that and be that version of ourselves for our kids, we're missing something in our own lives and their lives. So that's the message. Just try to focus our fitness and our health into the best version of ourselves.
There's so much that I think our kids can learn from watching us. Like, and obviously, you're when you're working out early in the morning, your son is not seeing you, but when you're in the evening, does he watch you sometimes, or does he see it happening?
He does, yeah.
I think it's important for them to see us struggle, like where it's like, oh man, like we're mama and papa to our kids. So it's like mama's like really struggling and she's still like trying her best, or she, or seeing Julian do that too, I think is so valuable for them, and seeing us like just really exhausted afterward. It normalizes that, and then they want to mirror it, and they want to go hard, and they want to do it. Obviously, like you said, the strength component, like sometimes I have to carry 2 of my kids at a time. I'm like carrying them both home because neither one of them wants to walk or whatever. And the energy that it takes. I honestly, like, sometimes I wonder, like, how do people who are not healthy do it? Because I'm exhausted taking care of these 3 little guys. And I want to be there and be present and be playing, like you're saying. And that requires training and nutrition. To be honest, it's like its own sport.
Yes.
It's so great.
Parenting is a sport.
It is. You got to train for it. I'm serious. So that's really cool. And I think it's so valuable. One of the reasons that we love street parking so much is because you can go to a gym and get fit away from your kids, but I do think there's value in them seeing it sometimes and being able to participate. Does Vinny ever jump in with you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he has his little junior ollie bar.
Oh.
So we do fitness together, and most of the time he likes to write his own workout.
Of course.
So I let him
Knox already does the same thing.
Write his own workout, and it usually involves some kind of snatch, some kind of burpee, and then running.
Oh,
so
man.
he always does a triplet. Yeah,
that's a painful combination there, Vinny.
I let him write it, and then I let him go first, and then he's like, "Yeah, let's back it down a little bit. Maybe we don't want to do, a 1,600 meter run every time for 10 rounds. So, we got to make it a little bit normal, but we do that a lot. He writes his own workouts. We work out together in the garage, and we do have a lot of fun with it.
That's really cool, and it teaches them. Something Knox has been saying to me a lot lately is, "Mama, when I do fitness or when I ride my bike, my heart." It goes real fast. And he thought it was a bad thing at first, because that is a weird sensation, right? And it's like, no, that's good. Like, it's totally fine. Like, you got to let it happen. So now he gets excited when it happens. He's like, Mama, it's doing it again. It's super cute. I asked you, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I asked you what your biggest hurdle is. And you said or what you think maybe just the world in general, what do you think is a major hurdle for people? And you said just staying the course, which I love. And why do you think it's so hard to just remain consistent for people and not get pulled out of it or get distracted?
I think what I wrote was, or what I answered to you was finding the signal through the noise, right? Knowing your why, knowing your goal, and what you're headed towards. But the analogy I provided was when you travel to like a different country and you're going inland and you're on a vacation or an excursion and everybody wants to give you the best trip or the best place.
Like, come to the ATV, come to the zip lines, come to this restaurant. Yeah.
And it's like, no, I'm here to do this one thing, but everybody's throwing all these really good ideas at you. That's just like life.
I would say it's just like fitness on Instagram
yes.
also.
Do you want to be faster? Do you want to be stronger? Do you want to do
Yes.
it quicker, for easier, for cheaper? Do you want to eat, all this really horrible food but still look amazing? Right? And
Just a bunch of commercials all the time.
So much noise that's a huge hurdle for people.
Yes.
And if if you don't have a strong focus and maybe you're just starting it, or even if you haven't just started it and you're just going, enough of that can wear you down to where you're like, you're right, this is kind of hard. I'm going to just take this easy road today. But then you took it. And now it's like, I got to get back to the hard road. And, that's hard.
Or I think what happens a lot too is it's like, there's too many options. Like, I can't choose. And they just don't do anything at all. That's right. It's like, I don't know I don't know which excursion's the best. So I'm just not going to go on one at all because I don't want to pick the wrong one. Or the last one that I tried wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be, so I'm just never going to pick one ever again. And this just isn't for, I'm just going to stay on the cruise ship or whatever. That's right. Why is health and fitness so important to you? Like in one, what's your why?
My why?
Yes.
It's my family.
Yeah.
Right? Just to be healthy, be my best version of myself for them. I want to be around as long as I can for those guys. Especially my wife, my son. It's just the three of us,
everything, yeah.
And it is everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I asked the coaches a question a couple weeks ago about if you were on your deathbed. I don't know why I'm so morbid, by the way. And you had one chance to megaphone to the world one message about health and fitness. What would you say? Like, this is the last thing that you get to say about it. No more Instagram posts, and everyone's going to hear it.
That's a good question. I mean, that's a sobering question, right? It sounds like a little bit like Nike, but I think it's just do it.
Right.
Do it. What do you have? You have almost everything to lose if you don't.
That's great.
So just do it.
Yeah, I love that. Just simple. Well, people are going to be really wondering what your workout is, and I can't wait to reveal it. We're so glad that you came here, and I know we'll see you again sometime in 2023.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.